Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Tuesday, August 29th. We're doing our tech setup right now. Oh, and I have to turn off the sound. So sorry. Okay, great. So we're just getting set up for our WGAN live at 5. I actually have to do a little prep here of copying and pasting a link. It'll just take me a second, so thanks for your patience. Let's get that into our window over here. Almost there, and we're actually almost there for 5 o'clock. And we'll hit that live stream button and go YouTube. And let's go take a look at our front page forum. And voila, there we are. Good. So today, Tuesday, August 29th, it's almost 5 o'clock. We're about 13 minutes away from starting WGAN-TV live at 5. Today's topic is I'm going to critique a Matterport space. It's a really large house. It's 3 levels. Very exciting. The photographer has done an excellent job in creating this Matterport Spaces 3D tour, but I am obviously highly opinionated, and I have some suggestions of how to have made that scan better during the scanning process, and then also during the trim, the post production of the model. So anyway, that's coming up 5 o'clock, about 12 minutes from now. Very exciting today. WP 3D Models launched version 3.0. Really excited about that. Some very exciting things to show and tell. And coming up probably next week, we'll have WP 3D Models founder and developer Ross Peterson on the show with us to talk about what's different in 3.0 versus 2.0. And we'll probably do a whole separate show of giving you a demo of 3.0, assuming that you've never used it. And we'll probably do an episode of 3.0, assuming that you're been using WP 3D Model's latest version. I want to say 2.3.3 or something. And now you've transitioned so that we'd have an episode for you specifically about what's changed for someone at that's already been using WP 3D model. So very excited, looking forward to having Ross on the program in order to give you an update on WP 3D models. In the meantime, you can see that Helen in the forum has already started a discussion. She is already, today I believe is the first day that it was publicly available. And so Helen is updated her WP 3D models WordPress plugin, is already using it, and gave a shout out to Ross, the developer. Very nice. Thanks, Helen. And just a reminder, if you are a standard member in the We Get Around Network Forum, one of your member benefits is the free use of WP 3D models. So if you haven't taken advantage of that membership benefit, I encourage you to look in your welcome on board letter, look for WP 3D models, fill out the form, and we'll get you a license key and a zip file of WP 3D models so that you can take advantage of that free membership benefit for standard members. Obviously, if you're not yet a standard member benefit and you've been thinking about WP 3D models, I do consider it an essential tool for any Matterport service provider. Join as a standard member, get the free use of WP 3D models as long as you're a standard member. So again, coming up at 5 o'clock, we're going to be, I'll be critiquing a Matterport space. It's an excellent space. I'm really excited about it. It's a beautiful house to look at. So if nothing else, you'll get to tour an unbelievable space. And so that's exciting to use something that's really kind of, well, let's go peek in here and let's look in here and let's walk around this corner. So that'll happen 5 o'clock Eastern time. And even though the photographer did an excellent job shooting the space and doing the post-production, I do have some suggestions on if he was to scan it again, or if he or she was to scan it again, some tips on scanning, and then also even on the post-production and on the trim and etc. So I think today's program I think will be really good if you've done 10 scans or less, and this probably will be the most valuable show that you could watch on WGAN TV. If you've done more than 10 scans, you might see some best practices and tips. And frankly, if you join us, love your comments. You might have, different things that you see, a different lens that you look at the tour differently. So I'd love to get those comments as well. Certainly, whether you join us on WGAN TV Live at 5 studio audience, the virtual studio audience to participate in the critique, that would be great. And then if you are thinking about buying a Matterport camera and, before you pull the trigger and you're just saying, well, kind of, help me understand a little bit more about scanning, help me understand a little bit more about the post-production, then you might find today's episode at 5 o'clock, just 8 minutes from now, helpful in the process. Of helping you make a decision. Let's see. We've been posting some Matterport Pro Photographers Wanted. We've done some placements, even of ones we haven't, posted. As long as we have a We Get Around Network basic standard or premium member in a market. When we do get an inquiry, we're automatically either reaching out if they're the only ones in that market, or if we have multiple pros in that market, simply providing the map link for the markets where there's more than one pro. But we still are looking for a Matterport Pro, I believe, in Millersburg, Indiana. It's been a busy day, so I'm actually not sure whether we filled that opportunity. And I think after I get off the show today, I'll check and see if that opportunity has been already handled. So coming up in 7 minutes, and I see that I'm not live on the front page. There we are. Good. Okay. Just want to always have that reality check. Tomorrow on WGAN TV, coming up tomorrow, Wednesday, August 30th at 5 p.m. That's live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. On Wednesday, 30th of August, we're going to have the Builder platform for real estate agents by CoAware. And so BLDR, Builder, is a new platform. I don't even I should say new. It was announced publicly at Inman Connect in San Francisco earlier this month, August 2017. But they've actually been in trials for about a year and a half with real estate agents and brokers, just making sure that the platform was rock solid, and then continuing to add features that agents were looking for. So the co-founder of CoAware, Kristen Roth, will be on our program tomorrow, giving us a demo so that you can see examples of sites created with Builder, and then how easy it is to create a real estate agent website using the tool. And so tomorrow's episode is going to be for if you're a real estate agent and you are presently doing your own website, but you're not happy with the platform that you're using, or you're a real estate agent and you have been using a third-party developer and you'd really like to take it in-house. You'll be able to see how easy it is to set up a real estate agent website using the Builder platform. We won't cover tomorrow, but just to know, as a Matterport service provider, as a photographer, you may be offering your clients custom-built websites, and you may find that the Builder platform is a great platform for you to build out for your clients. We'll actually do a separate episode of WGAN TV Live at 5 on that topic. We'll ask a member of the CoAware team to come back and talk specifically to photographers and third-party developers that are offering websites to clients, or who want to offer websites to clients as a solution. Should be very exciting for you to be able to take a look at the CoAware Builder platform for real estate agents. So that's coming up on tomorrow's episode of WGAN TV Live at 5. That'll be on Wednesday, August 30th. I know that I mentioned earlier that the WP3D models did release 3.0, a major release today, Tuesday, August 29th. Helen has already started a discussion in the forum about it. It's given Ross a shout out. As you start upgrading to WP3D models, join that discussion. That would be really great. I know that's cool. So anyway, we'll get started in about 4 minutes. You are watching kind of the tech setup portion of our program where we just make sure everything's working. And then once we know it's working, I guess I kind of fill time for a little bit. Hey, I'm looking at myself. Whatever happened to my makeup artist today and my stylist and my set designer? This is WGAN-TV. Where's our set? Where's our makeup artist? I know I should look better than that. And definitely need a new stylist here. Anyway, coming up in 3 minutes, WGAN TV live at 5. I'll be doing a critique of a Matterport space. It's a really exciting space to show you. It's really just it's a beautiful house, and it's been there's a lot of things that have been done well by the Matterport service provider that scanned that space. So I'd like to show you that. But I'd also like to show you some things that we can do to actually, I think, improve on that space. So I'm going to do a critique of a Matterport space, a 3-story house that is amazing and beautiful and very exciting to show you. So that's coming up just in a couple minutes. Anyway, this is like one giant experiment in live television. We are live. Today is Tuesday, August 29th. It's 4:58 p.m. Eastern Time, coming up on live at 5. And we're committed to 5 hours of live programming a week, Monday through Friday. Of course, Monday is a holiday in the United States, Labor Day, so I'll be taking that day off with my wife. But otherwise, Monday through Friday. And if you have a topic in mind that you think we should be talking about, please do private message me in the forum. So let me get set up here for just a couple more controls. And let's see. And I'm looking for, oh, okay, that's good. So anyway, really, we are live. This is WGAN TV coming to you from Atlanta. So I'm about to get the show started. Thanks for putting up with me through the tech setup portion. And here we go. 3, 2. Hi, I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. You're watching WGAN TV live at 5. Today is Tuesday, August 29th. It's 5 o'clock Eastern Time in Atlanta. And welcome to the program. Today's topic is critiquing of a Matterport space 3D tour. So let me move into my screen share here so that I can do that for you. We're going to go right here, select the screen, boom. So what I'm doing today is I went into the gallery. So, you may be looking at the forum. If you come over here is the gallery. There's nearly 1,000 Matterport Spaces 3D tours in the gallery that have been submitted by We Get Around Network Forum members. That's a free benefit to members of the forum, as to publish an unlimited number of Matterport Spaces 3D tours to the gallery. There's a couple ways of looking at the gallery. One is simply in the map view. I could zoom in, drill down, pick out a tour. You'll see that we talk about here's the tour. I could click on that to go look at it, who it was created by, and if you want to engage that pro, we have links there. In fact, I don't know if that actually opened a new window. So let me actually go back to my gallery page, and I'm just going to check my sharing and make sure I'm on the page that I want to actually share. Gee, I got 2 pages open. That's going to make me confusing. I want to make sure I'm doing the right page for you. So let me just close a screen so I don't make that I'm not demonstrating 2 different windows. That would not be good. Okay, bear with me. And we go back to my forum page. Stop sharing. Now go back to my sharing, and good. I only have one, so I'll know that I'm sharing the right page. So this is the page I'm on. I'm going to the gallery, and then I'm going to, there's the map, and the Matterport Spaces 3D tour, in addition to showing up on the map, also, as they're published in real time, start showing up on our timeline. So this is in the order that these Matterport Spaces most recently were published to the We Get Around Network Forum gallery. And I am actually looking for one in particular that I saw earlier today, was the Xanadu Guest Villa in West Cape, South Africa. Here is the Matterport Pro JC3D-CX. And if I click on this link, we'll go to JC3D-CX website. And if I click on this link, I'll actually be able to go directly to book that Pro. So I'm going to launch this Matterport Spaces 3D tour. Incidentally, in this case, the screen share, the screen save image was the 3D model. And personally, I don't recommend beginning with that view. I mean, you can take a look at what a lot of people are doing today, and they're trying to find the best shot for a particular space, as opposed to showing the 3D model as the thumbnail image. So anyway, that's something to think about. That wasn't my first choice when I looked at this. Incidentally, it's only in yellow because I've done a little search to actually find this space. So you're in for a treat. This is like really just a beautiful space. 3 stories. It's on the ocean. Actually, I probably teased something I probably shouldn't have. But you'll see that there is a highlights reel here, and I'm going to hit play, and I'm just going to let it play so that you can have an overview first to see what and then I'll actually critique the highlights reel as well. But I'm going to hit play and take a look at it with me. So the highlights reel is in the Matterport workshop, and this is an option that you as a pro can decide that you want to see a highlights reel at the bottom, and then you have 2 choices. You can either have it as a slideshow, and as a slideshow, you'll still see the thumbnails at the bottom, but when you hit play, it'll actually transition with fade to black, fade to black, fade to black. And if you turn on the highlights portion, it'll actually take you through a tour. Right now, let's say there are 32 images that have been saved, and it's literally doing us a walkthrough that the photographer determined what the order was walking through the tour. So I'm just trying to give you a quick overview of the space that we're going to take a look at and critique. And I might even play the highlights reel back one more time and then give you my commentary even on the highlights reel. I think that might make some sense. So if you are a new Matterport service provider and maybe you've shot 10 models or less, this is likely to be a very helpful critique session. If you've done more than 10 scans, you may find some tidbits of best practices helpful. And if you've never shot with Matterport, but you've been thinking about buying a Matterport Pro camera but want to know a little bit more about post-production and scanning, then you might find this interesting as well. We're not going to actually go into workshop today. That's a separate, I want to say we did almost 2 hours of a workshop, a tutorial on using Matterport workshop for about 2 hours. And so we're not going to actually go into that topic today. I really want to be able to talk about what the person that's looking at the Matterport space actually sees. And interestingly, if this was for VR, in Matterport Workshop, you have the option of having a different walk around experience than you have in the 3D tour version that we're looking at now. Not that Matterport has a slideshow within virtual reality, but you can actually be very selective about scans. You simply need fewer scans in virtual reality for a much better walking around kind of experience. So, and I say this is a house, but this is actually a bed and breakfast. It just happens to be a super high end bed and breakfast. There's 6 different suites that you can rent, book in this house. I'm sure you could probably book the entire house if you wanted, but you can simply book one room for 2 people, and it includes breakfast. So this is kind of like the ultimate bed and breakfast tour. I did make a point of the website for this particular bed and breakfast was the opening URL, and I made a point of actually going to the website for this Xanadu guest villa, to kind of just checking that out. And it actually, from as an American speaking, it is like, this is the deal of a century. I want to say that the guest suites are from $150 to $300 a night for 2 people, including breakfast. So that's really an exceptional opportunity. Aside from, if you're in Europe or the United States and you're looking at a 14 or 17-hour flight to South Africa plus driving there, that's probably your biggest expense and most time. But when you finally do make it to Xanadu, this is where you'd like to stay. Okay, so that was the initial tour. I actually want to show it to you again. So again, I would not start here putting together the tour. The tour is actually taking us through the front of the house, and that might seem logical to begin a tour, but it's actually pretty dull and uninteresting to me, and I may not have the attention of someone for 32 images looking at this highlights reel. So in theory, you would say, oh, well, let me show you the front door and we'll walk in the house and here's the living room and, we'll turn left and we'll look right. No. When you look at the house, what's amazing about the house is the fact that it's on the ocean. If you go up to the 6 bedrooms in this house and the balcony and you start overlooking the ocean, that's why people want this space. So and incidentally, this is not what I would even consider the money shot. This is nice, and that's pretty spectacular. But when you start moving up to level 2 and level 3, and then you're looking out over the ocean, that's what you really want people to visualize. That's why somebody's booking this space. So this is a great, we've now about a third into it, and we're starting to see some of the money shots of why somebody would make a decision to stay here. But, I would almost try to think of this as a pyramid. What is at the top of the pyramid, what is the most important thing you could possibly show somebody if you only had their attention for 10 seconds, and then maybe for 30 seconds, and then maybe for a little more than that? So anyway, I think you kind of get the idea. It's a really nice place, but it's what makes this space unique is the ocean. If you picked up this entire house and moved it to Atlanta, you wouldn't have the ocean. And incidentally, you notice I got a little bit of seasickness there because the screen grabs were not captured so that everything was parallel. And so that when you're capturing screen grabs, look for verticals, keep things vertical. Incidentally, I would have liked to walk into that space, but I noticed that there wasn't any scan there, and we'll talk about that when I actually start to move into the model and we take a look at that. So this is a really nice feature, and I would say that the photographer, the Matterport Pro, has done a really good job in terms of having a linear story. It's, if you're going to have it on autopilot, you really do need to have a flow that logically makes sense. And so I can understand somebody say, yeah, but if I start on the third floor, how am I going to get down to the first floor? Well, the third floor has an amazing penthouse suite with an amazing view of the ocean. And so to me, that's the money shot. You want to start on the third floor on this giant suite. Then you're going to walk down the stairs. You're going to get to the second level, where I believe, I may have miscounted bedrooms, and we'll talk about that, but I believe that there are 5 bedrooms on the second level of the house. And so again, if you have the limited attention of anyone looking at this, you really do want to begin at the most exciting places to show. I mean, now we're starting to get into some really amazing views from bedrooms, really, lovely rooms, lovely bedrooms, etc. And I think that's what you're going to want to show. I don't know why the curtains closed there. The photographer must have had a reason. But what's amazing about this space is the fact that it does overlook the ocean. It's right on the ocean, and I think that's important to keep in mind. If this house was in Atlanta, I'd probably still start on the third floor, work my way down to the second floor, and then out the back door. But look at that view, and we're at slide 30 of 32. That to me, that's the money shot. We're now in the penthouse view at Xanadu, beautifully amazing furnished, and now we're going to take it back one last walk all the way back to the front door. So, it's good to know that you can do this, but this really requires some time and patience and skill to make sure that you put your highlights reel, your snapshots, in exactly the right order that makes sense for your tour. And incidentally, you don't have to have every room as a tour. You could have one at the beginning and one at the end, and it's going to walk the house in the most efficient way from the first scan to the last scan. So let me start. I'll start on floor 3, and I'm going to look at the floor plan view. And I think what I felt, and again, I think the photographer did an amazing job. JC3DCX did an amazing job scanning this house and adding some matter tags and doing this tour. But I thought this might have been a missed opportunity here, because in floor plan view you can create labels. So I think it might have been nice. When I tell you that this is actually a bed and breakfast with 5 or 6 bedrooms, then the most logical question is which room am I looking at? And I suspect that matter tag there tells us that it's room 6, Neptune Suite. But I think I still might have had a label right here, because maybe I didn't know that I could actually look at that. So to add a label to say Neptune Suite, you do that in Matterport. You do that in Matterport Workshop. You create labels, and then you need to make labels turn on so that they're public. You can either have labels on or off. One example of where you might want to have labels when you're sending them off to, let's say, Blue Sketch to create 2-dimensional floor plans, or to mp2fp.com for floor plans, you might want to tell them what the room names are, and so you could label them in Workshop, but then you can deactivate them so that they're not viewable to the public. In this case, because this is a bed and breakfast and this room is rentable, I'd actually like to know that I'm in Neptune Suite without necessarily having to activate that matter tag. I love the fact that the photographer added a matter tag, but I'd still, and since it says room 6, I now know that there are 6 suites. And I'm going to click here and just start walking through floor 3 and then make some observations. So, if I step out on the deck, to me, this really is, the money shot, the highest point in the house, with a bedroom. And that's the view I probably would have started with, doing a highlights reel, because that's what people are buying, is that pristine beach. Don't see anybody on it. Isn't that even better? Those amazing clouds, that was great. And but I did want to point out one thing here in terms of scanning. If you look really carefully, you can see there's a stitching error right in the middle of the screen in the ocean. And so I can understand this is very difficult to shoot because you have the water is moving, the clouds are moving, and you're going to get a stitch. Excuse me. On the other hand, if you make sure that the camera, so essentially what's happening is when the camera rotates, it's overlapping pictures and it's doing a stitch. And if the image changes some, you're going to have that broken looking stitch. So what the photographer might have done here is have the camera face forward in terms of the ocean. I guess that's, I guess, you can still see the seam at about 2/3 over. There isn't any reason that money shot right there needed to have a seam by having the camera stop, take its still picture in that particular view. So, if you're not, thinking about, and it'll become more obvious as we walk through this house, but if you're not thinking, about that kind of stuff, that's something you want to think about, because if there is going to be a bad stitch, where do you want that bad stitch to occur? So in fact, if you look at the table here, we can see there's a little bit of bad stitch on the round table. And again, to me, this is the money shot. This is not where you want to have a bad stitch. So if the bad stitch is over here or the bad stitch is over here, much better if that's going to happen, but have your furniture look nice. And so this is not rocket scientist stuff. It's just a matter of having the camera, when it rotates, that it stops and it's flat facing exactly what you want. Now, I think it's terrific that the photographer got a scan, outside, and you can see that we're on a deck. I should point out that when you scan outdoors, and it's actually very easy to scan outside, the only challenge is that the camera can't see the sun. And I know a number of times people say, oh, but there were clouds and the clouds block the sun. Doesn't count. The infrared still gets absorbed by the sun. The clouds don't act as blocking the sun. So I would say in this instance, the photographer actually probably got lucky that they were able to do a scan from exactly where we're standing, because you can see that the sun is about to peer in here. So what I would have suggested when scanning this particular property is, the first thing is to look, I'd pull out my iPhone, I'd launch the compass application app, and then I would want to know, where is the sun coming and where is it going? And on a property like this, it's all about the views. And so as we walk through the house, you'll see that some of the challenges related to the views are as a result of where is the sun at that point in time when those rooms were being scanned. And so my concern in this very big house is when the sun was in a place where it would have been perfect to scan outdoors, that the photographer couldn't get outdoors because the sun would be in a place that the camera would see the infrared, and then the scans would fail. So now, reminder, you certainly can always do a 360 view, but it's, in my opinion, I'd want to do that last, because I really like the fact that I can walk from the bedroom outside. And presently, Matterport doesn't enable us to use to go from to a 360 that can be shot outdoors. It'll show up in the highlights reel, but I can't just magically walk from one space to another. The other thing I noticed here is that there is just one scan on the deck. And I'm going to guess that when the photographer shot this space, they would have loved to have shot a little bit more feet forward. But again, because the sun is just coming over here, if they tried, the camera would have just kept failing. So I actually think, either they got, lucky, or they raced to get to the spot. They got the one scan. They might have been trying to scan feverishly to try and get the scanning to work in this forward spot, but couldn't. And again, that's because of the sun. So it's not a rocket scientist stuff. As long as the sun is behind a building, you will be able to scan, even if it's bright. It could be totally bright over here on the deck, but because the sun is, when the sun is behind the building, you will be successful in scanning outdoors. So generally, if you know that you have a property like this, you really want to be set up, ready to scan a half hour before the sun rises. And if the sun was, and I have no idea, but if the sun was rising over the ocean here, then you'd only have, the before the sun literally comes up to scan, and that would be hard. So I would actually, hopefully, the sun at some point is behind the building, and that tells you you're going to shoot, the deck and these bedrooms when the sun is actually on the other side. So anyway, it's kind of long-winded thing, but I think it's really important to understand that views matter. And so in a property like this, I feel that image is in the window is actually washed out, and it's washed out because of the time of day. Interestingly, if you were shooting while it was dusk, outside would probably look perfect. So when you think it's just getting too dark outside for it to look nice, and Matterport doing its HDR, it'll actually look pretty good. So that's something to think about as we walk around this level. Incidentally, I just wanted to go back to the dollhouse for the third floor and just point out some things here. And what I wanted to point out in the dollhouse is we're missing, I think we're missing some windows. Yeah. So you see here, when I fly through the door opening, what's missing would be in the in the trimming phase on the iPad, is to mark the windows. Let me face this way. So the middle is a door, but there is a window to the left and there is a window to the right, and you want to mark those windows both inside and outside. And then when you do the dollhouse view, and I rotate around here, you can see it really prominently. Here's the deck that we were just standing, that right now it just looks like it's completely open. And if you trim those windows, if you trim those windows with the window tool, then it'll actually look very nice in terms of the panes of glass there. Actually, let me go back while we're looking at a dollhouse and just show you some more views where I think there's been missed opportunities. I think in terms of trimming, find something obvious. There's a giant black hole over here. I'm not sure what that was. We'll go take a look at that later. I think it'll be if I go just say take a look at the second floor, because that's when things really, we got some black spaces over here. Not sure why they're not trimmed. Let's actually take a look at this one spot. Let me fly in here. Again, I think the photographer has done an exceptional job overall. And so really what we're trying to talk about today is how do we tweak it to make that much better. I wonder about this sunlight. Typically what happens if you have bright light on the floor, you're going to have holes in the model. So when I see all this bright light, I think of that as sunlight, that the camera couldn't read the infrared. And so if we go back and go, sure enough, could not read the infrared. Let me take a little sip of water here. So if you know that ahead of time, that the camera, when it sees bright light, is not going to be able to create, there's going to be no data there, essentially, where that bright light is, you have two options. One is, again, if you're using your compass as you're shooting a space, that'll help you determine when you can shoot that room. In fact, what I wanted to see is that even if there's a hole in the floor here, let's see if we can do that. Floor plan, going back to the second floor, and I don't see a hole in the floor, so that's good. But that giant spot there is just kind of bothering me. And again, the way this actually, there you saw it. So there is a hole in the floor. As I walk to it, you'll see it. Boom! I was actually looking to the floor below. Did you notice that? Let's try that one more time. And that is because the camera is not seeing the data on the floor when we walk right here. So when I transition from one scan to the other, I'm actually walking through the data view, and that happens very quickly. But what happens is, as soon as I hit that scan, you'll be able to see through the floor below for a second because there's no data. So I mentioned there's two ways to solve the problem. The first is to time your scanning so that you don't have bright sunlight coming into a room. That's not always possible. I completely understand that. You know, this, who knows, this whole 6 penthouse rooms, 3 levels, big house, you know, this might have been shot over multiple days and you're working around guests that are in the space. That's certainly a possibility. But you know, the second way to have solved this problem, and the photographer should have been able to see this on the iPad, that there wasn't any data in that location. Maybe not, because it's vertical. But the way to have solved that would have been to go, oh, I need to, because I see all this bright light on the floor, I need to come back and add scans in this space. And so you'd come back. Let's say it's the opposite side of the clock. The curtains are don't have this bright light, and then add some scans, and then in workshop you'll hide those scans. So you won't those scans are only for the purpose of making the model better, not for the walk around experience. So just, you know, it's extra time, it's extra effort. But again, you're shooting a space like this, you know, even as a photographer, if the numbers don't exactly work for you, this is probably your showcase front page piece of property that you're going to put on the front of your website to show what you do in the high-end properties that you scan. And so it would have been possible to fix this. I wonder if the curtains are drawn because when the photographer was shooting, the camera couldn't successfully scan, and so they tried closing the curtains. They were able to get it to scan successfully, but I would imagine there's some amazing view outside of these curtains and we can't see that. So that kind of bothered me. I want to know what the view is. Oh, that's interesting. Let me just step back here. So it looks like, in fact, something, the environment was changed here in order to probably accommodate that lighting. I personally like the rooms to be staged exactly the way we want to shoot them, so that objects and things are not opening and moving. But you notice that the curtains just got pulled back. So let's step out on the deck. Interesting, I just flew through a window, so I should not have been able to fly through that window, and so it's missing trim that would say that's a window. If you were to trim this window right here, I would never be able to fly through the window, and you want to avoid that because you know, that's not a good surprise. Anyway, let's just walk out on the patio. I'm looking for another scan, and look at that. There wasn't another scan on the patio. Why not? So that kind of bothered me. Now I've lost my place of where I was. So see if I can just get back to where I was. That kind of bothered me. And let's see. I was looking at the little dollhouse view. I was on the second floor. Here's that spot with the data. And then where's that outdoor patio? I don't even see it in the model. So is that on a different floor? That I wonder. So let's see if I go step here. So there's a floor that's completely missing from the tour. So I can stand here, but again, you see where the sun is? The photographer had to position the camera behind this pillar in order to be able to scan that portion of the patio and have it come out okay. So meaning if the photographer tried to keep moving the camera this way, this way, this way, this way, would not have been able to scan successfully because the sun is coming in. So again, that goes back to where is the sun, and you can see this was this was a long shoot as the sun keeps moving in our space. But the point is, if you wanted to have this patio, you can't scan while the sun is facing the camera, and that meant we were totally missing this deck in the tour in the 3D model, and I can't even walk the deck. Now I could understand you say, nah, that I don't mind. That's all I want to show somebody. It's not that interesting. There's a car outside. It's the front entrance, whatever it is. But I'm gonna say that even if the photographer wanted you to be able to walk out on this deck at the time that they were shooting it, they couldn't because the sun was facing the camera, and then they may not even have been able to do a trim here because there wasn't any data in the model to actually add a trim line. But you want to have a window trim so that even if I start walking this way, I'm not going to immediately fly into a different floor. Let me get a glass of water. Excuse me. Okay, so let me just see if I can wrap it up on shooting on the dollhouse piece so that we kind of cover that. I want to go to, let's say, to the 3rd floor, and again, I think we covered the doors to the outdoor patio, and so that looks okay. If I go to take a look at the 2nd floor, say I got some extra data here. Do you see that? And I wonder if there's a mirror right there that didn't get marked and caused that extra line. So let me just see if there's anything else I want to see when we fly in to the actual floor. I'm seeing some other windows that haven't been trimmed. This is a whole good question. Sorry, didn't quite do what I wanted to do. But if you see, I'm missing whatever is here. Let me go just look at that first, see what's there. So great patio, but in the this is a money shot. This is what's going to sell this place. This is your patio. You don't have to stare at anyone. It's really a beautiful view. Now let's go back to the 3-dimensional model and say, okay, right here, that would have been nice to trim. Now, again, you and I know from looking at that there's no windows there, but that doesn't mean you can't use the window trim tool. Use the window trim tool to make the model, the 3D model, look that much nicer because it's looking out over the ocean. So instead of having this bar up here and this black here, that would have been a picture just like over here. This picture here would have been here, and it would have been the ocean. So hopefully that makes sense. Just because a trim tool says window doesn't mean you can't use it for other reasons. We use it, we get around Atlanta frequently in order to create window panes, even if there's no windows. We use that on decks, terraces, etc. Now I wanted to go see, I think we were talking about on the 2nd floor, that extraneous piece of light. And let's see, I wanted to fly in there and take a look at what that was. Okay. Okay. So bright light. So there's probably no trimming going on there. And the photographer may not even been able to step outside because the sun was probably in that spot. So I'm trying, I can't move there. That bothers me. So let's try it again. Okay. Is there any point out here that I can, nope, can't do that. So I feel there was a missed opportunity on this deck. And again, you can see that it's very bright outside. Brightness is not the issue in terms of scanning. It's if the camera sees the sun. And I see that the door is open. So that kind of invites me to step outside. And again, I'm going to guess what happened is that the photographer tried to shoot. This was, this is a very challenging space. Not only is it super big, you have to deal with all these light issues. So right here, again, you got to be looking at a compass, and it's perfectly fine. If you scan that spot and then you couldn't step outside, you go, okay, I have to maximize my ocean time, and that's what matters. And something has to give in my day of scanning and say, okay, I've gotten this far, but I can't step outside. Come back to the space, because the problem here is if we go back to the floor plan view, we're missing part of the floor, right? So boom, now that you and I have looked at this, let's take it right into floor plan right there. That we're missing the bottom right corner is a patio, and all it's showing up is this sliver of light. So I think the photographer would have had two choices that would have been better than this sliver of light. One would have been to either have timed it, three things. One, time it right to shoot that patio so you're not facing the sun when you want to step outside. Two is to trim the space because you failed to get it, but make the model look nice. And three, go back and do extra scans at a different time when you'd be able to shoot that spot successfully. Now, I mentioned that this is a bed and breakfast, albeit not a bed and breakfast that I've ever stayed in with my wife. This is quite upscale, but I'm not sure what room I'm in. So maybe this is the Seahorse Suite. Let me step out for a second and then take a look. Okay, I'm in the Seahorse Suite. Okay, great. But maybe there would have been another matter tag to put in here to say Seahorse Suite, because I entered by the floor plan view or I entered by the dollhouse view. So something else to think about. So let me just go back up to the second floor in the dollhouse view. Incidentally, this kind of drives me nuts, and I know one day Matterport will fix this. There's two things that I would love fixed here. When I click on floor plan, I don't want to have to go through the dollhouse to get there. And by the way, I was looking at the second floor, and now it's taken me into all floors. So Matterport thinks I want to look at all floors, and I don't. So it's costing me extra steps. And then, oh, by the way, in fact, let's go back to dollhouse view and let's fly in. And now I want to go to the floor plan view, and I can't get to the floor plan view directly. Can't click on that. That's not going to take me anywhere. So I said floor 2, but here is the view dollhouse. There seems to be some extra real estate here. I wish that said floor plan. It used to show floor plan view, and they took it away, and then they gave us this tool, and then notice that I put it on the second floor. This is like a double whammy. It drives me crazy. Even though I had specified the second floor, I clicked dollhouse, I hit floor plan. I was expecting only to be looking at floor number 2. So I think there's two things really there that I would suggest Matterport fix. One is give me if I'm in the explore the space, not only do I want the dollhouse, I want the floor plan. And oh, by the way, if I specify a floor, you see that floor 2, and I hit view dollhouse, don't show me all, because I've already specified that I wanted the second floor. Now I'm going to go set it to floor 2, click on floor plan view, and I finally, after like 3 steps, have finally gotten to where I wanted to go. So I think it's nice that there's matter tags here. I don't know why that one is partially hidden. I think I see 5, room 1, 5. Don't know why that's where I'm standing. So I actually only see 3 of the matter tags on the second floor, but I want to say there's actually 5 suites, certainly at least 4 suites that are on the 4th floor. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe if I went over here, there's even maybe a 5th. So there's 5. So you see that I actually see that there are 5 suites on the second level. And if I go into the second floor, I should count 5 matter tags. So I think I love the matter tags, but I think the photographer missed here by just proofing to go, second floor, missing missing 2 of my matter tags, and to figure out why that is. I don't know the answer, but I think through trial and error that they could have just been moved over and not be obscured. there's one. Let's see, maybe it's hidden under something. Let me go back to the view second floor and see if we can actually tease it out to see. Nope. I'm not sure that I can see. Anyway, so let me fly in, just give you some other things as I see. This is a beautiful view. Imagine being in the tub. Well, I can't imagine being in the tub because the scan's not in there. So that actually might have been an opportunity to put the camera, in the bathtub, in the jacuzzi or whatever, because I want to actually visualize being in there, looking out on the ocean. And, oh, by the way, there's something out here that I can't get to. Look at that. There's chairs that comes off the bathroom level. So, again, I think the photographer did a great job. It's a bit challenging, such a, big home that's for rent. But, there's a whole space out here that appears to me that it hasn't been scanned. If we actually go back into this view and rotate around, and boom, we're missing another deck that's outside. Someplace here is actually a deck, because if I fly in here and I look out, I see a deck, you see a deck, right? Anyway, if you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN-TV. We're live at 5 on Tuesday, August 29th, 2017. And I'm doing a critique of a Matterport space. It's called Xanadu Guest House. It's in it's near Cape Town, South Africa, and there are 6 suites that you can rent out. It is a upscale bed and breakfast on steroids, and the rooms rent out for about $150 to $300 US, including breakfast. Deal of the century. If you don't, maybe you got some extra frequent flyer points to get you there. It's quite a trip to get there if you're coming from the United States or from Europe. But it certainly does look like Xanadu, what I would envision Xanadu to look like. Okay, so I made the point. We're missing a deck. I might have liked to have the camera in the tub. Also, putting the camera in the tub might have captured some extra data that might have helped improve the dollhouse view a little bit. So I'm just taking a look around, and the photographer has done an excellent job keeping the camera out of the mirror. I'm sure that that there was a scan or 3 or 2 here in the mirror, because you had to go from here to here, that the photographer may not have been able to make that leap. And so scans were hidden in the walk around, and that's a great way to keep the camera out of the mirror. So I just wanted to do a little bit more walking around here. Incidentally, personally, I think the camera is a little bit high, because you notice when I'm walking through this space, I'm having to go like that, and you notice the verticals. You see that? I mean, to really accentuate it, that in order to see the space, I'm really having to, that's where the camera is, and that's how it's shot. But walking through the space, I almost have to tilt down a little bit in order to see more of it. And so if you move the camera to a lower height than eye level, okay, I'm 5'10", certainly not, it's not going to be my eye level. Maybe my wife, inches shorter, is going to be her level. But I actually shoot today with the camera even lower than her height, because it just means that when I'm walking through the space, I'm not having to change the verticals any. And incidentally, there's our patio that's missing. And not only is it a patio that's missing, look at the view that we're missing, that we could be out on that patio. So I feel like, I really wanted that patio. It's got an amazing, look at this place. It's got an amazing, those are not photographs on the wall. That is the actual beach and ocean, view. And I feel like, I really would have liked to have that patio. And also, I noticed earlier today, I don't think I could actually walk up as close to the windows as I would have liked to look out. And so maybe that's an okay place, but gee, okay, so I think that that's glass and I can't actually walk through that, but maybe I still could have stood in this corner. I can imagine the photographer might have been making some post-edit decisions to say, the camera's reflecting in the glass. I don't want them to see the camera. And so, I won't go any further than that. So anyway, let's keep walking through this house. And I think one of the good things is that there's not a huge number of scans in the house. So, and that's fine. You see the photographer has skipped the mirror. I think on this scan, this one's a little bit problematic for me, showing a scan that's in a door jamb, because when I stand in the door jamb, 50%, half of what I'm going to see is either that or that, when I really wanted to see that view. And so if the camera was over right here, just steps closer, then I would have had a much more dramatic shot. So I don't know if this is the case where the photographer scanned there and then scanned where I'm presently standing, or just chose to keep that particular scan. Sometimes, in terms of, we're discussing this in the forum, as we're speaking, is about this whole issue of, if you use a scan as a snapshot in highlights, then you can't delete the snapshot, or you can't hide the snapshot. So it may be one of the cases where the photographer had a reason that they wanted to have you, wind into here on the tour, but then couldn't hide the scan. I'd much rather have a scan here and then have a scan right there is fine. So let's take a look at this other room here. Let's pop in again. So that's good. We got the name of this suite. Incidentally, with enriched, enhanced matter tags, it's possible to put all kinds of rich media. So I did go and look at the website for Xanadu, and I didn't see any video on the site. But there was they did put a Google Earth, a Google maps view, and maybe one of those views looking out on the beach, maybe to put a matter tag that links to the map, and maybe in every room maybe put a link that takes you to the website or the booking site. Maybe if I was here, I would go, I don't even remember what this room is called. Let's step out for a moment and see what it's called. So this is the Starfish suite. And incidentally, I wouldn't have called it room 5. I think I just would have put 5 hyphen Starfish, or space, or suite 5 Starfish suite or something. Anyway, but imagine that, because the Xanadu does have a booking engine, that why not put a link right in these is it possible that I've already forgotten the name? Starfish. So why not put a link right in here, book Starfish suite now? I mean, that would, to me, would be a really good use of a matter tag in this space. Gee, this is interesting. It looks like a door closed here, open and closed. So not recommended. I think when you're shooting a space, you really want to be able to have all your doors staged the way you want. I think in this instant, let me grab a little bit of water here. I think the photographer got a little bit lucky that they didn't create a problem with the mesh that would prevent you from walking through a space. There is some techniques for dealing with that in post-production. If you get stuck, check out the WGAN Network Forum for that. But ideally, you want to stage the space with all the doors in the position that they're going to be. I don't know, may have been, I don't know if I would have scanned in the, there's no view out the window for this, but there probably is some missing data in our 3D model. So if I go back here, let's just take a look. Maybe not. There's a little bit of darkness there, and that might have been solved just by adding an extra scan from the tub. It is an awkward spot. It's a big house. I can imagine you could be exhausted shooting this house. This is a long full day shoot. I only need one scan. I might need multiple scans in the bathroom in order to get all the space to make sure that the model looks good. But I certainly don't need to walk in any place else in the bathroom. So one scan there is fine. And boom, okay, back to that deck. We've already covered that. The door was closed, so I didn't know that I could actually walk out. I'll walk out. And let's just walk to the other side. There's something. So notice that it's dark right there at the dolphin suite. I bet you didn't even know there was a hallway there to the left of the dolphin suite. So seems like maybe a light wasn't turned on. The door wasn't open. That was the problem. Okay, so if I go back here and I look again, if I step far enough away, okay, the door is closed. Okay, so and again, I can certainly appreciate if you're shooting, a property that's in the midst of renting, that room may have been occupied on that day and the door was closed, and it is what it is. But if you have the option to have that door open, there would have been a nice bright light inviting you into that space, and then we can start continuing in to walk around. So nice patio. So notice in this particular patio, the photographer went outside. It's because and could scan successfully because the sun is on the other side of the building. So again, even though it's bright, the ability to scan has nothing to do with brightness. It has to do with the infrared being absorbed by the sun's rays, and the sun is elsewhere. So it was perfectly fine to be able to go out on this terrace and scan. I think that may be an ashtray. I don't know if that's me personally. I would have hid the ashtray. There's plenty of us that don't like smoking, and I wouldn't call attention that somebody's actually smoking here. I personally would start hiding some things like that. Now, I don't quite know why I'm standing on that particular scan close to the rail. I think what might have made more sense was to have a scan in the middle of the space. Excuse me. That would have helped reduce the potential for the rail to break up. It's not a big deal. Only you and I actually stare at that stuff, but it matters to me that the railing is not as straight and clean and perfect as it could have been. And by the way, do you see where it's broken up? If we're looking down on the staircase below, it's completely broken up, the brown going to the brown. And that could have been completely avoided by doing a scan right here in the middle and then disabling this scan of where I'm standing now. Okay, let's go in. I got two scans close together. I don't know why. Generally, when we scan, we'll scan about 3 feet from the door entrance. We'll scan in the middle of the door jamb, and then we'll scan about 3 feet past it. So let's see what's there. Bathroom. Okay. Oh, so you notice we're in the door jamb, and you see how the door jamb, is a mess. So that's very hard to avoid that with how Matterport stitches images together. But one way that you could be successful is have the camera face flat when it's taking its pictures towards the door jambs. And that would at least give you hope that the stitch would not be right where it is. Now, in terms of this bathroom, gee, let me just step out for a moment because this is bothering me for a moment. When I go in here, so for example, if I walked into this bathroom, I'd rather walk right to that mid spot, and that's all I need is the one scan a little bit further. Probably don't even need this particular scan. It's okay to add it. You see the photographer's done an exceptional job of keeping the camera outside of the mirror, even though that there probably were some scans here. But I think it's possible to have put the camera probably here. It would have been out of view of the mirror, and I would have been able to enter the bathroom excuse me, maybe even if there was a scan right here in the middle, then I could simply walk into the bathroom. I could be there. I'm not in the mirror. I've walked in. The camera's not in the door jamb. It's not. You got two scans that are kind of in the door jamb. It's not the best. Now, I could understand if the client said, "Oh, I'd like photos." Personally, I always recommend engaging a pro. We Get Around Atlanta does not shoot professional 2D images. Doesn't mean every once in a while the client doesn't ask for photography, and so I can understand it would be important to have this particular scan where I'm standing now. Let me move away for a second just so you can see that. So it would be important to have this scan if I need a two-dimensional picture. And Matterport is promoting the use of the Matterport Pro 2 3D camera for capturing 3D pictures. But the challenge I would suggest the Matterport is, hey, if we're using a snapshot for a two-dimensional image because that's the shot that we need, but when I use that snapshot, in a tour, you're not letting me, delete the scan. And now I'm forced to have people stand in a place that I don't want them standing. So I noticed in the forum a number of pros have said the workaround is essentially is do the model twice. Duplicate the model, upload it a second time, doesn't cost you any for the second upload, and then create screen grabs with one model that's for your 2D images, and then do the other model for the actual walk around. And in theory, that sounds fine. The first time you go try that, you are going to be in a lot of pain because it's going to take you, an extra hour or two to do that extra post production. So Matterport, please, got to enable us to use a snapshot for 2D photography if that's what we want to do, but also enable us to be able to hide that scan because we don't necessarily want people standing on that spot. Now I want to go back here just for one more reason, is to show you the camera height. If the photographer wanted this image for, and let me see if I can go back one more time here. If the photographer wanted this image here to show the bathroom, and maybe they'll put it on wide angle to get 70% or something and get a little bit more. I personally don't like the 70% because it makes things look out of proportion. But the point I wanted to make here is the camera's too high. It's just simply too high because the only, I'm very persnickety on my verticals. So you can see if you're looking at the left margin that I'm lining up the vertical because that's what our eye expects. It's not that. It's not that. To me, that is really not a shot that you'd ever want to share. And if nearly all of you know that, but if you're new to Matterport and you haven't been shooting photography, it may not be obvious. But in this case, I would want to put the camera at a height that was a little bit above this bowl right here in this door jamb, and get a nice wide angle shot right here that would be very flattering for that room. But again, I don't want someone to stand on a scan that's low, and I don't want someone for that scan to be used in a highlights reel. So let me just see if there's anything else that's kind of really. Let's go back into the second floor. So if you're just tuning in, you're watching WGAN TV live at 5. I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, critiquing a Matterport space that I found in the gallery. That's this tab here, and you can click on any of these. These are all tours, or it'll explode into more tours. So you can use the zoom in, zoom out feature over here. But I simply scrolled down looking for a scan to look at today with you. So I'm going to go back to the second floor just for a little bit more. And again, I love the view. I wish I could have stepped out on that balcony. A little bit hard to step out here. Um, the bright light may cause a little bit of challenges while you're scanning. So when you do your initial walkthrough, you'll want to check that out. Notice the doors were opening. That was bothering me a little bit. I don't know why they open and close, open and close. Again, it could have been that this was done over multiple days when guests weren't checked into a particular place, and it kind of is what it is. And have I been in this bedroom? Yeah, we did that one. Okay, so let's go down to the first floor. And this was kind of cool, but I apparently I can't walk there. So that kind of bothered me. It doesn't surprise me because, you know, again, you see the sun here. It may have been trying to put the camera here that the scan wasn't successful, and so the photographer said, okay, you know, that's the view, but we're not going to do anything more than that. But notice again, it doesn't show up on the let's see if I can fly in here. It's not showing up on the floor plan view. Okay, notice I'm going to go to the here, and I want to click to go there, but I can't because there's no data has been captured. So again, that's all about using a compass. Know, you know, when you'll be able to, you know, this is a case where the sun is directly overhead, and so the photographer couldn't go outside, and so is missing all that data that would have showed up on a nice floor plan. So again, you see the light blown out. You know, you can completely control that by the time of day that you shoot. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's take a look at the light. So, you know, that looks nice. If it was a little bit darker, probably be a little bit nicer. I'll share a tip with you. I would say 99% of you would not want to do this, but it's a technique that I like doing, which is I might shoot this entire house twice. And first, I would not worry about the light. All I would worry about is am I capturing as much data as I possibly can. And then when the lighting is magical on the bedrooms, I would be able to put the camera anywhere that I want because I already have the underlying data that would let me put the camera anywhere. So at magic hour, I'd be running around on those bedrooms going, okay, these are the ones that face the ocean. This is the view that matters. I have, you know, an hour of magic light, you know, when it's nice and, you know, the dark, which may either be early in the morning or maybe late at night, in order to have all the views in this property look like at least that, no matter where I'm standing. So if I'm standing over here, you know, I want it to look nice. And if I'm standing back here and I'm looking there, you know, there's a nice view there that I can't see. You can just barely start to see it. But I'll tell you that it is, again, when you're shooting, you know, if you're shooting a house this size, you're going to have to make, you know, compromises when shooting because you may not have access to the house for 2 days. And, you know, and incidentally, you know, I have no idea what the Matterport photographer charged to do this house, but I am going to guess that it was a one-time fee and maybe some de minimis amount of money for hosting, you know, every year or something. This is such a great opportunity for monthly recurring revenue. You don't need to charge as much upfront to do the project, and you can charge, you know, a reasonable amount, a higher amount, you know, way higher than what you pay Matterport for monthly hosting of the model. And, you know, and that'll give you an incentive to even shoot it even that much better and to add enhanced matter tags and add links. I would have loved to have had a video walkthrough with the owner. It turns out there's a husband and wife that, you know, built out this house, designed the house, built it out, and they run it as a bed and breakfast. You know, they have a story to tell. I know that because I went to their website, but there's no video there. You know, we have so many new 360 one-click cameras coming out. I think you put, you buy one of the cameras, certainly under $300 is probably 10 choices today. If you look at the forum, let me just digress for a moment. If I go up to the top here and I'm looking. So if I'm in the forum, it says cameras. There are now 70 cameras that are one-click 360 solutions. Matterport is one of them. And I'm not suggesting to replace Matterport, but what I am suggesting is on a house like Xanadu, you really want to have a 360 video camera and have the either you walk through the house with your client and ask them to tell you the story of the house, or set them up with the camera and say, look, this is one take. You walk through the house. Let's start on the amazing views in the top level, work your way down to the second level with all those amazing views, and then down to the main level of the house, and tell the story of the Xanadu guest villa that they custom built. So again, I'm struggling here. I really want to click. There's an amazing view here, and I can't see the entire vista. And again, you can see the sun coming in, and that's the challenge the photographer may be experiencing, is that wherever that sun is hitting the ground, they can't put the camera. And so I'm wondering why there's not more scans here. And incidentally, I don't know whether these are glass doors or not. I'm guessing that there are, but even if there's no glass door, I would still trim that. In fact, let's use the dollhouse view to take a look at that. Is I would still, sorry. Let's go back into having a hard time talking and walking at the same time. Again, Matterport showed me the whole house. I just want to see this one floor. Okay, so that looks like it actually was trimmed. So that's good. It could have been trimmed on this side. If you put a window on this side and mark it as a window, then that would look, I think, way better than it does right now. I just think it's not quite what it, if I'm looking at those windows, you see this space here, I'm looking at black in that view, and again, maybe I'm being a little persnickety here, but an individual may not notice, but on the aggregate of how it does look, it'll look and show much better. So let's see, I just want to quickly see if there's just anything else to show you. I just felt like when I was walking through it earlier that this is great. So this is a great example. The Matterport photographer was able to shoot outdoors because the sun, again, you don't see the sun. The sun is behind the house. And so the photographer could walk outside. And it does mess up, I think, the dollhouse view some. I'm sorry, the floor plan view. Let's go into that for a second. Again, got to go back to the first floor, and you go, but the photographer trimmed it nicely, and so that made a nice difference. And so that's possible. Incidentally, you see right there, I can see black. That's behind that dining room table. It means the photographer never got the camera back there to capture the data. So the camera is on top of where that black spot is, but right here, the camera doesn't see, there's a blind spot right there. And if I'm over here and I'm looking over here, there's a blind spot. And then what that creates is a black hole. Let me go back here in the floor plan view. So you can see there's a black hole as a result of that. So anyway, some of you may think I'm just being like, overly nutty about it, but excuse me. This is a space where I'm not sure stepping out this far mattered. I might have limited myself to this scan, and then in the floor plan view, I could have trimmed this area much nicer to reflect the layout of the house, or at least of the garden. But you see, because the camera couldn't capture all this data that's in that spot. Oh, that's a different spot. But anyway, that's why things show up black, is because the camera is not capturing the data. I think we were actually out here. So nope, that's the back. I think we were talking about the front. So let's see. Yep, right here. So you can see where I want to say this was the spot. Guess not. But anyway, the point is, if you do step outside to scan, you want to think about trimming so that it does look nice in dollhouse view and in floor plan view. There were some TV sets here. I have no idea whether there's cable television or direct TV. That might have been nice on the TV to put a little matter tag and annotate it. You might not do that in a furnished house for sale, but again, this is not a furnished house for sale. This is a upscale bed and breakfast, and therefore I think there's an opportunity, to add a lot of tags. So, but only to tell a story. So if we go over here at the dining room table, what time is breakfast served? There's an opportunity to tell a story there. Let's see. So kitchen, let's just step in there. And I have not been in this spot. So again, very bright, therefore it's going to not look so great. And so is there anything else to show you on the first floor? Again, I just think the camera's, I didn't want to go that way. I think the camera's just a little bit too high because I keep going down to look at it. And well, let me just try using my arrow keys. Let's see. Okay. There's a case where the curtain should be closed. It's not anything in particular that's exciting to look at. Okay, and that's walking upstairs. Let's see how hard it is to do that with my arrow keys. Okay. So I think you kind of you get the idea. So hopefully I think what we've covered. Incidentally, one thing we haven't covered. This is actually a Matterport space exactly as is. But I just want to show you one other thing. Let me see if I can just call another screen up that I really wanted to show you. This just take me a second. And okay, let me go to share screen. And I just want to give you a little bit of tease to say an example of why you want to use Matterport Spaces 3D, WP 3D Models WordPress plugin. This is the We Get Around gallery on our site. And you can see every time that we shoot a model and we load it into WP 3D Models, it's automatically populated on the map. And I can click through these pins to actually get to models. And it's also adding it to our gallery. And then here are, I can search by category. So here's one I shot within the last 10 days. Incidentally, that twilight shot was actually created by Photo Spark by John J. in the forum. So there's an example. We didn't use the dollhouse view to show that property. We used a sunset shot. So I'm going to go view the model. And if I have my little play button here, I think I wanted to show you actually in a different view. So if you see at the top here, what we actually give to the client is www.8080jetferryroad.info. I think through GoDaddy that cost us less than $4, and could probably charge at least $25 for vanity URLs. That's going to point to the WP 3D Models version. And so this is how we present our front page. Notice there's no Matterport logo on there. We have We Get Around, Walk Around 3D Tour powered by We Get Around. Here's our play button. We have our logo in the bottom left corner. That could be your client's logo presented by We Get Around. Got to keep the Matterport logo there, unfortunately. And what I wanted to show you here, let me just pop this down for a second, empty house, is that we always have the logo here, and that could be a client. In this case, our client was nice enough to allow us to keep that there. And then when I walk through the house here, just get to another spot, you can always see that our logo is in the bottom left. And we frequently put our client's logo there. Obviously, you're not doing that on MLS listings, but if you're doing a bed and breakfast, why not put the Xanadu in the bottom left corner? So that's what I wanted to show you there. So anyway, thank you for joining me for this critique of a Matterport space that I found in the We Get Around Network Forum gallery. There are nearly 1,000 images there. I think if you are new to Matterport, great place to look through for ideation for potential business development. I think also to see how other people are, what is their display image, their escaping me for the moment what we call that that shot. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, so what your first shot is, see how other people are trimming models. Good for inspiration in a lot of different ways. And then it's also great in terms of discovery as yet another way that you may be found as a Matterport service provider, and it's also helping you actually with your SEO. So highly encourage you to, as a We Get Around Network Forum member, one of your benefits is to be able to publish an unlimited number of spaces to the gallery, and we only point to your website and to helping book you as a Matterport photographer. So we're not sending anyone to a competitor. We are only sending people to book you, to engage you as a Matterport service provider. So I'm Dan Smigrod. I'm the founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Tuesday, August 29th, and you've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Thanks for tuning in, and please join us for more episodes as well. Thanks again for tuning in. So tomorrow we're going to have, I'm going to go back to the front page of the forum and just let you know on WGAN TV coming up live at 5 tomorrow, Wednesday, 30 August, is the Builder platform for real estate agents by CoAware, BLDR. This platform was first announced at Inman Connect in San Francisco earlier this month in August 2017. We're going to have one of the co-founders of CoAware on our program tomorrow, Kristen Roth, talking about and demoing Builder. If you are a real estate agent or broker and you're not happy with your existing site, or you're not happy because you're having a third party do it and you'd like to be in control of your site, this is a program to tune in for. I was able to get a sneak preview demo of the Builder platform. It is really quite easy, fast, and simple for a real estate agent that's without having to understand a line of code to be able to create a beautiful website. And if you are a photographer or third-party developer, you're welcome to tune in. We're actually going to have a separate show for you to demonstrate how a photographer or third-party developer can white label the Builder platform and offer build out of websites using the platform. And I think the interesting thing is you don't even as a photographer need to understand a line of code in order to be able to use Builder to create a great website for your client and charge monthly recurring revenue for hosting that website. So there are a lot of ways to make money as a Matterport service provider, and the fact that you start looking at some of these third-party tools. Anyway, that's going to be a separate episode, and I know we're also going to do a separate episode with CoAware talking about creating single property websites using coaware.com. And so that'll be yet another episode. A lot of different great solutions from the folks at CoAware. Happy to have them on our program. and we'll have other third-party service providers on the program as well, so that we can brief you about the tools and solutions that they are using. So anyway, that's coming up tomorrow. WGAN-TV live at 5 o'clock Eastern Time on Wednesday, 30th of August, 2017. So thanks for tuning in. Almost time for dinner for me. Got to go make dinner for the wife. And again, thanks for joining us.